Are you preparing to take the Praxis Elementary Education Social Studies Subtest 5004? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Praxis Test Prep channel. I'm Tom, a certified teacher and test prep expert with Study.com. We're proud to partner with ETS, the official provider of the Praxis exams, to bring you the most accurate, up-to-date information straight from the source. By the end of this video, you'll have all the essential details, expert strategies, and the confidence you need to pass this exam and take the next step in your teaching career. Ready? Let's jump in. If you're an aspiring elementary school teacher, there's a good chance you'll need to pass the Praxis 5004 Elementary Education Multiple Subjects exam to get licensed and secure your first full-time teaching job. One important part of that exam, the Social Studies subtest. So what can you expect from Praxis 5004 Elementary Social Studies? This test is designed to make sure you have the core knowledge and skills needed to confidently teach social studies to young learners. The exam is computer delivered and focuses on three major content areas: United States history, government and citizenship, geography, anthropology and sociology, world history and economics. We'll break each of these down in more detail in this video, but just know these content areas have stayed consistent from prior years. The Praxis 5004 gives you 60 minutes to complete 60 questions, so time management is critical. To maximize your score, you need a solid approach to pacing and prioritization. Here's how to do that. Stick to about 1 minute per question on average. Use this as a general guide to keep you moving steadily through the exam. If you find an easier question, complete it quickly and bank a little extra time for the more challenging ones. And if you're stuck on a question, don't dwell on it. Mark it for review, skip it, and move on to the next one. This ensures you're answering as many questions as possible within the time limit. When you circle back later, you'll often find the answer comes to you more easily with a fresh perspective. In terms of the questions themselves, you can expect most questions to be standard multiple choice. These questions will ask you to answer a question or evaluate a teaching approach and then provide 4 answer choices where only one is correct. Remember, this means that you do not always have to know exactly how to answer the question and can instead use the available answers to narrow down by limiting yourself to the offered options and removing obviously wrong answers. There may be some questions, however, that follow a more unique format. These include multi-select questions where there may be more than one correct answer. These are signaled with select all that apply. These are a bit trickier and you will need to identify all correct answers to get points for the problems. There might also be a few order matching questions. These questions ask you to put things in the correct sequence. Think of it like organizing a timeline. Your goal is to get everything in the right order. You could also see questions that ask you to select parts of a graphic. These questions ask you to click on a specific parts of a map, chart, or diagram based on what the question is asking. It's all about being able to read and interpret visual information, like identifying a location on a map. Another strategy tip here: read every question carefully, especially with multi-select questions, to ensure you don't miss which question format you are dealing with and are able to answer correctly. Praxis 5004 is scored on a scale of 100 to 200, and a passing score is generally a 155. However, every state has its own score requirement, so always check your state's guidelines on praxis.ets.org. I've linked to the specific page in the description. The ETS keeps their scoring logic confidential, even from us. However, a good rule of thumb is to take your state's passing score, subtract 100, and then treat the resulting number as a percent. That means if your passing score requirement is 155, you can roughly assume that you need to get at least 55% of the questions correct in order to pass. And that brings me to my next strategy tip. There is no penalty for wrong answers on the Praxis, and answering every question gives you the best chances of improving your score. Watch the timer and answer as many questions as possible to maximize your score, even if it means just guessing on hard questions or when time is running out. Make sure to use general test-taking strategies like crossing out clearly wrong answers and using hints from the question and answer choices. Also, don't forget to explore the other videos on this channel for detailed tips and step-by-step guides on tackling different question types. Before we head over to the content breakdown, let's go over some important test policies you need to know before taking the Praxis Social Studies exam. I have some really important information on scrap paper. This is an important resource on test day, and you can use it to jot down key dates, sketch out maps or timelines, or organize your thoughts before answering tricky questions, but you need to follow ETS's rules. If you're taking your test in person at a testing center, make sure you request scrap paper from your proctor and don't attempt to bring in your own. You also need to return the scrap paper to the proctor at the end of the test. If the proctor sees you taking your own paper out of your pocket or doesn't think you've returned all the scrap paper at the end, you may get accused of cheating and your score will be invalidated. If you're taking the test at home on your own computer, you cannot take notes on regular paper, and you'll be asked to erase all notes in view of the proctor at the end of the test. To take notes at home, ETS recommends that you use a small dry erase board with a marker. You won't be allowed to start the test if you try to use a regular sheet of paper. All right, now let's dive a little deeper into the content that you'll see on test day. The Praxis 5004 exam is divided into 3 categories, and each section counts differently towards your final score. So it's key to know where to focus. The longest and most important section is United States history, government, and citizenship. You can expect around 27 questions here, and this section accounts for 45% of your exam score. Questions will focus on key moments that shaped the country. Think European exploration, early settlements, and the American Revolution. You should also be knowledgeable about big shifts like westward expansion, industrialization, and major 20th century events like the space race and the civil rights movement. You'll need to know how the U.S. government works, from the Constitution and checks and balances to what it means to be an active citizen in a democracy. Expect questions on major Supreme Court cases, government institutions, important documents and speeches, and how historical events continue to shape policies today. The next section is Geography, Anthropology, and Sociology. This section has around 18 questions and accounts for 30% of your exam score. You'll dive into both physical and human geography, basically how people interact with their environment and how geography shapes things like culture, economics, and migration. You'll need to know major world regions, key geographic features, and how to read maps. Plus, expect questions on how humans adapt to their surroundings and use natural resources. This section also looks at social structures and cultural interactions. Be prepared to apply anthropology and sociology to understand how societies, both past and present, function. World economics and history is the final category, and it contains 15 questions that make up roughly 25% of your exam score. This part of the test covers major global civilizations and core economic principles. You'll encounter questions on ancient civilizations like Egypt, Greece, and Rome, and explore how historical events, trade, and industrialization have shaped our modern world. On the economic side, you'll need to understand fundamental concepts such as supply and demand, scarcity and inflation, and how governments influence the economy. You might also encounter real-world applications demonstrating how these principles impact global trade and financial decisions. If you have any questions, make sure to check out our practice problem videos specifically on this exam. So how do you exactly start preparing for this exam? We recommend a targeted approach, which brings me to my final strategy tip. Take a full-length practice test early in your prep. This is one of the best ways to figure out what you already know and what you need to focus on. Think of it as your personal roadmap for smarter, more efficient studying. Here's a bonus tip. If a full-length test feels too daunting, consider checking out Study.com's diagnostic quizzes. Study.com has customized quizzes for each practice test code to analyze your performance and create a personalized study plan. This helps you focus your efforts where they'll have the biggest impact, so you can spend less time reviewing what you already know and more time where it counts. No matter how you study, try to simulate real test conditions whenever possible. That means timing yourself and sticking to the same resources you'll have on exam day. At the end of the day, preparation isn't just about learning the content, it's also about building test day confidence and mastering the strategies that help you succeed when it matters most. And that's a wrap. Your ultimate guide to passing the Praxis Elementary Social Studies exam with confidence. If you're looking for more in-depth practice, strategies, and walkthroughs, check out our Praxis 5004 Elementary Social Studies playlist right here on YouTube. And when you're ready to level up your prep, head over to Study.com. If you're serious about being fully prepared, Study.com has everything you need, including full-length practice tests, hundreds of exam-style questions, and a personalized study plan. Our users have a 92% pass rate, so you'll go into test day knowing exactly what to expect and how to succeed. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and hit subscribe for more Praxis prep content. Got questions? Want to share your progress? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and remember, you've got this. Stay focused, keep practicing, and we'll be here to support you every step of the way.